This section is about Chapter 2 in Love. Coffee by the river, endless laughter, and small rituals. But can fragile joy survive reality? The first morning after their chance encounter, the city seemed brighter to them both. Not objectively. People still hurried to work, cars still filled the streets, but Emma and Daniel noticed things they had ignored before. The light through leaves seemed sharper. The scent of bread from the corner bakery lingered longer. Their phones buzzed more often than usual, short messages that carried more meaning than their brevity allowed. Their coffee by the river at 8 o'clock became the first of many small rituals. They discovered they both liked arriving a few minutes early, as if timeliness itself was a form of devotion. The river's mist, the hiss of the espresso machine, the uneven rhythm of passing cyclists, these became the soundtrack to their beginnings. Daniel started bringing small things to the meetings, a newspaper folded to the crossword, 2 pencils sharpened, once a bag of roasted chestnuts. Emma began sketching him without asking, quick lines that caught the tilt of his smile or the way his hands circled his cup. Days turned into weeks. They wandered through bookstores, museums, and city parks, narrating their observations like 2 actors rehearsing lines only they understood. Emma confessed she collected doors, photos of them, sketches, even a tiny brass key she had no lock for. Daniel admitted he liked running in the rain because it made him feel like he was outrunning time itself. On Saturdays, they visited the flea market. They sifted through records and postcards, trying on lives that belonged to other people. Emma once held up a Polaroid of a couple from the 70s and said, "Do you think they're still in love?" Daniel studied it and replied, "They look like they're still inside the story." She tucked the photo into her sketchbook without hesitation. There was laughter, always laughter. In the park, Emma tried to teach Daniel how to sketch quickly. His drawing of her looked more like a stick figure with unruly hair. She laughed so hard, she nearly dropped her pencil. Another time, Daniel cooked pasta for her at his apartment and accidentally dropped half the noodles on the floor. They ended up eating toast with butter and laughing until tears filled their eyes. But there were quiet moments too, the kind that stitched themselves into memory without effort. One evening, they sat on Emma's balcony, wrapped in a blanket, listening to rain drum on the roof. They didn't speak for nearly an hour. When Daniel finally said, "I don't want this to end," Emma didn't answer with words. She simply rested her head on his shoulder. As weeks deepened into months, their closeness became less about discovery and more about recognition. Emma realized she loved the way Daniel's brow furrowed when he read, as if the words demanded a duel. Daniel found comfort in the small sound Emma made when she was thinking, half hum, half sigh. They began to fold into each other's routines. Emma started leaving a spare toothbrush in Daniel's bathroom. Daniel stocked tea he never drank because it was Emma's favorite. They began using we more often than I, not as a conscious choice, but as a natural shift in language. The city became their playground. They rode the tram to its final stop just to see where it ended. They climbed the steps of the old cathedral at midnight and whispered promises into the wind. At the zoo, they stood too long by the penguins and gave them all names. Emma painted a tiny mural on Daniel's wall, just a moon and 2 stars, hidden behind the bookshelf. Once, they took a day trip by train to the sea. The air smelled of salt and freedom. They walked barefoot along the shore, collecting seashells and daring each other to wade into the icy water. Daniel chased Emma across the sand, both of them collapsing breathless and giddy. Later, wrapped in a single towel, they shared fish and chips on the pier, hair damp from the spray. Their intimacy grew, not in grand declarations, but in the smallest gestures. The way Daniel instinctively reached for Emma's hand when crossing a street. The way Emma kissed the corner of his mouth when words felt unnecessary. Love revealed itself not as fireworks, but as a steady flame, warming every corner of their days. It wasn't perfect, of course. They disagreed about movies, about which cafe had the best coffee, about whether pineapple belonged on pizza. But disagreements were softened by laughter, resolved with a kiss, folded into the larger harmony they were building. One night, Daniel surprised Emma with a picnic on the rooftop of his apartment building. He spread out blankets, lit candles inside jars, and unpacked bread, cheese, and strawberries. The city stretched out below them, glowing like a constellation. "I've been waiting all week to show you this view," he said. Emma, touched, whispered, "It's beautiful." Though she wasn't looking at the skyline, she was looking at him. They danced up there, barefoot on concrete, to a song that came from his small speaker. It wasn't graceful. Daniel stepped on her toes more than once, but Emma laughed and told him she wouldn't want to dance with anyone else. He kissed her then, the kind of kiss that told both of them they had already crossed into something permanent. The following weeks became a collection of such moments. Their photo booth strips grew in number, tucked into books and taped to mirrors. Their friends began to notice the way their names were always spoken together, as if one summoned the other. Emma's apartment carried Daniel's presence in the form of a jacket left on a chair. Daniel's apartment smelled faintly of Emma's perfume. One evening, as they walked along the river where it had all begun, Daniel stopped suddenly. He looked at her with a seriousness that felt rare for him. "I don't know how to explain it," he said softly, "but being with you feels like remembering a story I loved as a child. One I thought I'd forgotten." Emma squeezed his hand, her eyes shining. "Then maybe we were always meant to find the ending together." They stood there for a long time, the river moving slowly past, carrying secrets toward the sea. The world around them continued, trams, footsteps, conversations, but inside their circle of closeness, there was only stillness, only certainty. And so they continued, day after day, weaving their lives together. Love didn't come in a single thunderclap. It came like morning light, slowly filling every room. Emma and Daniel didn't speak of forever yet, but in the way they looked at each other, in the way they reached for each other's hands without thinking, forever was already present. If you love romance, emotional storytelling, and cinematic vibes, this is for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who believes in true love.